McMahon also coaches at Capital MMA.
Immediately trading in the center.
Right on the CageZilla logo.
Fulmore working for the double. He's got his hands clasped now. Look for him to scoop in, but he's got to be careful of the guillotine. Joe's got one arm in.
Well executed.
Now he ended up in half guard, and Joe still has his arm tucked, but he doesn't have the leverage to go for the choke. He needs to use that to open up his hips and get guard, and then he can work on getting back up to his feet. And now he's switching. Now there's a head and arm choke. It's tight. It's really tight.
He's going to work on that. Fulmore doing a good job of trying to pick his head up.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. He needs to get his head up, his forehead to the sky, and create a little bit more space, because that's where he found himself. He found himself surprised at how tight it could be, even with his arm in.
And, of course, the danger a little bit for McMahon is if you burn out that arm trying to work a choke that you just cannot get.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
He's going back now. He's going with the full guard.
That looks tight.
That looks tight. Right in front of Chris Fuller. You got the best view in the house, Chris.
So Fulmore does have a hand in there, and it looks like it's helping him fight off this choke attempt by McMahon.
Well, he's using it to ride the squeeze. So every time you see Joe extend and really squeeze, that's when Kevin is also using it as a counter lever to pull it down, to kind of mitigate the damage that could be done with it. He can't hang out here, though. Joe let go of one, and now he's out.
Yep.
Who does that take more out of, Charles? The guy fighting off the choke or the guy trying to sink the choke?
You know, in that particular instance, they're both going to get tired from it because they're both using muscle to break it. But I'll tell you, when you hold on to a choke and you don't have it, it will tire you out. Fulmore going back to what he knows. They're calling for it. He's got both arms. He's got both in now. Using the guard to extend.
Back.
Exactly, Jay. Exactly.
Joe McMahon taking a deep breath, trying to find a way to get Fulmore to tap off this guillotine, but Fulmore able to fight it off again.
Fighting it off again, and you guys know there are fighters out there who are just hard to choke, just biologically, the way their necks are put together.
And now we're lucky because we could actually see Fulmore has his hand in and under, creating space. So his hand was actually on Joe McMahon's chest, grabbing the grip to prevent it.
That's exactly what he was doing when he was over here the last time also. So wily veteran there is Kevin Fulmore.
Been around the block a few times, both these guys. Heck of a round. Technical and entertaining. I would like to see Fulmore use his length a little more in this round. I'd like to see him. He almost landed a few punches. McMahon's head movement was fantastic, though. And if you're McMahon, move that head, get close, get back on the ground. Neutralize the longer fighter's reach.
Yeah, well, and you know, McMahon used that guillotine, both the one arm and the full guillotine, to stop Fulmore from doing the damage that he needed to do. So in the judge's eyes, it's, okay, Fulmore got the takedown, but then McMahon threatened with the choke the entire round. It's a tough one to call.
Fulmore doing a great job on defense there, but he needs to put some offense together in this next round. You know, he was riding a 5-fight win streak until that was snapped by Kyle Graham, who was fighting in our co-main event tonight.
Another guy with some serious wrestling and ground and pound.
But Kevin Fulmore is used to these grinding battles. You know, he's got 4 of his 5 wins by decision, so don't expect him to get gassed. Don't expect him to get rattled. He's gonna stay in there and battle.
He also has very good head movement. You know, he counters well and gets his head out of the way.
Neat little spin kick like we talked about, Charles.
Right, he stays controlled, and he's going to force Joe to kind of do more unorthodox things like that.
Yeah, Fulmore, in the fights I've seen of him, has always displayed excellent patience. Nice little jab to the body, just giving McMahon something to think about.
Nice shot to the body landed there. Fulmore's got control of the center of the cage and lands a stiff jab.
Nice stiff jab.
You know, he's not moving nearly as much as McMahon is, and that'll tell you something. Big left hand landed there. Excuse me, right hand.
Yep, left kick, right hand. Let's see if McMahon tries to change levels a little bit here to get this fight downstairs. And
oh.
Just like that.
Great, good sprawl.
Fantastic sprawl. And right back up, but this is, I think, where McMahon is more comfortable, perhaps, than Fulmore, and we break it off.
So Fulmore looks to have the reach advantage, but McMahon is still able to close the distance. He's not using that jab effectively at all.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. You know, a part of that is because McMahon is throwing so many kicks, which does help mitigate the reach.
Right.
And while Fulmore's doing a good job countering, he'd have a lot more success if he used the straight punches that'll give him the range to hit without getting hit.
Surprised to see neither fighter even thinking about a takedown.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they both exerted a lot of energy. You know, Fulmore getting out of the submission while McMahon was trying to pull it. So they might feel more comfortable here going the distance using this kind of energy as opposed to that muscle fatigue that happens when you're forcing things.
Excellent, excellent point.
Both guys with a lot of experience. Not their first time at this particular rodeo.
You know, McMahon's doing a really good job of throwing a strike, parrying the counter, and then coming back. We've seen that a few times now, and it's not by accident. He'll lead with the jab, lead with the cross, and then parries that hook and fires back.
Big punches whistling by, just missing. Another nice spin kick from McMahon. Caught a hook for his troubles. Interesting to see Fulmore starting to use a little bit more straight punches to the body in that round. A couple of jabs that landed. That was a right near the end that almost landed. Maybe trying to slow McMahon down a little bit. McMahon content, at least in that round, to stand back and trade punches. If he does land one of those spinning kicks, though, boy, that could change the complexion.
Hey, just a little bit out of range on those kicks, but you're right.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, McMahon really, he settled in nicely, especially in the beginning. They met in the middle. He caught a couple shots. He got pushed against the cage. But since then, you know, he settled in. And he's kind of going back to what he knows. We could really see that 2-year layoff affected him in that initial, you know, that initial exchange. We've seen it before tonight, and we saw it with Joe, but we've also seen him come back much, much better in the second round, much more relaxed. He picks his shot. Not everyone he threw was overexerted and wound up. He snapped a lot of shots that set up more powerful punches.
All right, third and final round coming up.
Chris, if you're the corners, what are you telling your fighter? Both of them.
Well, that depends on how you have it this far. Do you have it 1-to-1?
No. I don't know. Charles, what do you think? Is this a 1-to-1 fight?
I would say so. I mean, you know, that first big right hand landed.
Yes.
You know, the first round could have gone either way, but this is certainly going to decide it. So, you know, we saw Fulmore come out hard. Let's see what McMahon does here.
Straight punches from Fulmore.
So if it is an even fight this far, Fulmore's corners seeing that he won that second round on his feet, if he did win that round, and McMahon's corner is telling him he won that first round on the ground. So,
well, you know, the fight is so close that any way you slice it, you know, one guy could even be up 2-0 depending on how you look at it.
But
this is the most important round right now because both guys know that the fight is up in the air. So this might give that edge and that deciding factor, but you still have to go for the finish because those first 2 rounds could have gone either way.
McMahon doing a good job of staying a little bit more bounce, a little bit more on his toes. Fulmore very flat-footed. Still landing nice inside leg kicks. He's looping that right. And it's giving McMahon a chance to either move his head or slide away from it.
So it sounded like we agreed that the winner of this round wins the fight, but neither one of these fighters getting antsy, nobody getting excited, just very methodical, very calculated.
I would like to attribute it to their experience, but we've seen debut fighters and 1-0 fighters on this card act the same way. So there's something in the water up here at CageZilla. Nice control of hips by Fulmore. Doesn't want to get a knee.
Almost had a big elbow, though, on his way out. Good outside leg kick by McMahon.
Fulmore doing a good job of controlling the center of the cage and countering now with the straight punches that we were looking for last round.
Ooh.
That kick might have glanced off the shoulder, but it was in a dangerous place.
Yeah, little head hunting there.
You know, the range is forcing McMahon to lead with his kicks, which we've talked about earlier tonight. When you do that, you leave yourself open for the counter, and now that's really what Fulmore is focusing on. Unfortunately, it's the third round, so he has to really act quickly if he wants to take advantage, but he does see it.
Good shots by Fulmore.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Sharp counter.
Fulmore said, "Hey, Joe, you got me there."
Yep. Whenever you see a fighter smile and shake his head, nod his head like that, you know he got caught a little bit. Okay, so if you're their corners, are you pleading for urgency here?
I think if I'm McMahon's corner, I say let's get this to the ground and choke that long neck out.
We're there. Oh, I thought you called it there for a second. There you go. 10 seconds.
But you know what? A lot of respect. And neither one of these guys wants to overcommit.
That was a great fight.
That was a fun technical fight to watch.
I tell you what, I was just speaking to Brooks Miller, our matchmaker, right before this fight, and I told him, great job. This is the most fun I've ever had at a CageZilla fight. This is an unbelievably good card.
I said the same thing to Brooks. He tried to pass it off to all the talent that's up here. I said, okay, that's great, but you're doing a heck of a job with this matchmaking.
Awesome job. He always does an awesome job, but especially tonight. Hey, you know what? Maybe you guys are the lucky charm tonight.
That'd be great. I would love that.
How about
I
that?
gotta be lucky at something.
All right, well, I don't envy the judges on this one. Let's see what they have to say.
Oh, my goodness. Charles, we got the two best seats of the house.
We do. We've seen a lot of action, not 1 foot in front of us.
There's nothing like an educated, engaged crowd. They're loud at the right times. They're quiet when it's time to be quiet. They're watching everything. You can tell a lot about a fight just by the intakes of breath.
No, yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things about this promotion is that everybody fighting here is they want to. You know, sometimes you get people who they say they want to fight, they train like they want to fight, but then when they get in there, they don't. And that's tough to watch. You know, you don't want to see that happen. And our matchmaker did do a great job because everybody in here has come prepared, has come with a lot of skill, and has come ready to, you know, give it their best shot.
And a lot of parts have got to come together. You got to have good gyms and a good owner like Jeff Wild and a good matchmaker. Looks like Chris has got the score. Let's give him the floor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecard for a decision. Judge A scores the fight 29-28. Judge B scores the fight 30-27. And Judge C scores the fight 29-28. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. Out of the right corner, Kevin Fulmore!
I'm curious that one of the judges scored it all 3 rounds for Fulmore, but I have no problem with that decision. That was a heck of a fight.
Well, you know, it's funny. There was a small detail. When they announced the 30-27, Fulmore actually raised his eyebrows and was surprised at that. You know, we talked a little bit about it as it was going on. Each round could have gone either way, really, except for that last round when Kevin put the space. So I guess.